welcome back to another episode. With me today I have a special guest. We met in Amsterdam a few months ago, last year. Yes. Had great conversations, and when I was making my podcast list, I was like, she's someone I definitely want to have one of my first episodes. So welcome. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and have a conversation. I guess we could just start with you introducing yourself briefly and let them know who you are.
I'm happy to do that. I'm Elizabeth Njeru Smith. That's a lot of names.
I was trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah, the more I get, the more names I get. But anyway, I got married last year, so
Okay.
Yeah, so the Smith came up as part of my name.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm Elizabeth Njeru, so that's how you'll find me on LinkedIn and so forth. Born and raised in Kenya. I've been in the Netherlands for 24 years already. Because I studied here at the university. That's also important maybe to share.
Yeah, exactly. The academic background.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually came to do my master's at Utrecht.
Because you did your bachelor's in
Kenya.
What was your bachelor's in?
It was sociology.
Sociology.
Yes.
Okay.
And my master's was also in sociology, but it was very different. So in Kenya, it was more like a general degree, but in the Netherlands, it was really policy, so very concrete. And what I really liked about my master's program was that the study was almost like you're already working.
Yeah.
That's how I experienced
practical,
it.
right.
Yeah, very practical, dealing with real life problems. And afterwards, of course, I felt like it was such a good thing I did because I could just go to work, basically.
Yeah.
And when I compared it to what I had done in Kenya it was more theoretical, very difficult really to apply.
Yeah.
But here we were really dealing with real life problems.
Right. So you felt like it prepared you better for the work you're going to be doing after that?
Yes.
Did you have any idea when you left Kenya what type of work you wanted to do with your degree?
Not concrete work. It was more, I always felt that whatever I did with my work life should be improving people's lives.
Okay.
The quality of people's lives. And I can tell you a little bit what happened, how that came to be. When I was at university in Kenya, there was a group of people came from England, from the International Planned Parenthood Federation.
Okay. And
they were looking for students at university to train as peer educators.
Okay.
And it was about sexual reproductive health and rights empowerment. And when I was growing up in the village, we had never talked about sex or sexuality or STIs or how to protect yourself, things like that. So after this training they gave us, for the first time I really had vocabulary about everything about sex, sexuality, sexual health, And I just remember it was almost like, I felt almost like physical change. I could not believe the difference between having words for something and not having vocabulary for it.
Right.
And it has such an impact on my life that since that time I really believe that everybody wants a good life, but sometimes if you don't know, if you don't understand what you're dealing with, then you cannot also make informed choices, for instance. And that has really become the whole line in my work now.
The whole lining.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you chose to study sociology consciously? Like, is that something you made a conscious decision? I'm going to choose this and I'm going to study this because I want to use this in the future.
Actually, when I was in Kenya in high school, I wanted to study psychology.
Okay.
But in Kenya, them days, what happened is you did a major exam, and you were allowed to choose 3 universities you wanted to go to, and like 3 studies you wanted to do. And then after the exam, they would look at how many children in the nation got how many points. Then you were allocated to a university.
For psychology?
Well, for one of the choices you had made.
Okay.
So sociology was my second, and Moi University was my second. So I guess I didn't make the cut for a university where you could study psychology.
Psychology, okay.
Because at Moi they didn't have psychology.
Right,
So I did sociology.
Okay.
That's what happened.
That makes sense. Okay, just to understand how you got to study what you got to study. Because I think that's very important. I had one conversation with another guest, and we're talking about how we make decisions for what to study, right? And when we, especially in African context, when we make decisions on what to study, that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives. Because the whole idea of
Yes.
you don't have to do something for the rest of your life is not a thing for us. Like when you pick becoming a doctor, that's what you're doing for the rest of your life.
Yes.
You're not going to try something for 10 years and then after 10 years you can do something else.
Yeah.
That's not a reality which we're very much in tune with now. So the decisions you're making for what to go study are really important for the rest of your life. At least we see it that way. But if you think about the age we make these decisions, 16, you barely know yourself that well.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to make this choice for the rest of your life. So I was just curious if you feel like that was a decision you made consciously, or if it's something where you're just like, I need to get a degree, so let me just go get a degree and then we'll figure out the rest of life later.
That's a very interesting question. Because if I think back when I was in Kenya, I had never really had a conversation about what are even the possibilities.
Right.
The only important thing, the conversation that I had with my parents, with teachers, again and again, was the importance of going to university.
Yes.
So I always knew I'm going to do my bachelor's degree and I'm going to do my master's degree and I'm going to do a PhD. That was my line of thought. But it was never really about what are you actually going to study. When I look back, I don't even know how I chose sociology. I got a list or something. I don't know. I actually have no idea how I chose, because we never had like career guidance or discussions about careers.
Yeah.
But what I remember is when I went to report at university, we had a lot of young people wanting to change to education, to the education degree. And that was really driven by the fact that at that time, everybody knew if you did a teaching degree, you got a job.
Right.
Because there were, for teachers, there were so many jobs. So the class was so big, people were sitting outside the classroom. There was no room to fit. But what happened when we were studying, the whole situation changed and you could not become a teacher anymore. They didn't have a space. So the whole situation changed. And things like philosophy, there were like 2 students, you know. But people were actually looking at where can I get a job.
Right.
But for me, I just thought, no, I like the whole idea of understanding human beings and people and working with people. But it was not really, I wouldn't call it a real conscious
decision.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So that was the Kenya chapter.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the Netherlands? How did you find yourself in this country?
Choose is a good word. I think it chose me because, oh my goodness, life is funny. So I was studying at Moi in Kenya, and we had an exchange program with Dutch universities.
Okay.
So the Dutch students were coming. I never saw a Kenyan student coming to the Netherlands, but okay, that's a story for another day. So they were coming, and I would stay at university sometimes during the summer break, because I was doing extracurricular activities. You know, I was in a choir and things like that. And I made friends with 2 Dutch students, 2 girls. So a new group came, and one of the people was a guy who became their friend. He actually came by himself. He became their friend, so I met him. And that's how the whole Dutch chapter happened, because after a while we were completely in love, and the girls left, we were always together. And then he left for Christmas holidays, and we were missing each other so much. Then we were like, oh my goodness, we're in love. So he came back, then we had a relationship. Then at a certain point, he invited me to come to the Netherlands. He said, come and see if you like the Netherlands. I was like, okay. And I came, and we had a wonderful time. We traveled around Europe. And then when we went back, he was like, well, if you want, you can come here and, we can start a life together.
Okay.
So I said, well, I will come, but only on condition that I can learn Dutch and that I can do my master's program. Because I was already making plans to go to the US.
Okay.
So, where my sister already was anyway. So that was, so that's how I ended up here.
Okay. That's a very familiar story I've heard from a lot of people.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
They say life is what happens when you're making plans.
Exactly. That is true. And how has that changed? So you came and you did the degree in sociology, but more with a focus on policy. Have you done with that degree what you planned to do with it? Or do you feel like the path you took after the master's has been different from what you anticipated or expected?
It's definitely been different from what I anticipated and expected. When I did sociology here, policy, I thought I was going to work in policy. But I remember, and also here I didn't have any career coaching or career discussions, preparation. I don't know why, also at the university. We never ever had it. What I could imagine was I want to understand the society and to contribute to the social cohesion and people being productive and things like that. And actually, I remember I had to do statistics, which I hated. I'm just not good with math. But later, I actually did my internship at the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
There was a position, I applied for it and I got it. But I remember being so surprised because it was totally unexpected the way it was. We were just having meetings, reading reports, writing reports. I remember thinking, but where are the people that we are talking about? And I think that was my first time really seriously thinking about what I want or what I need to be fulfilled in a job. It was very intuitive, but I remember feeling it very clearly, like this is not what I want. I want to be in touch with the people that I want to know who I'm talking about. And so that was really an important moment. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe when I'm 50 I can do this, but not now. So I'm somebody who always makes lists, and I had after that I made a list of like the kinds of jobs I would want, the top 3, and the organizations I would want to work for. Yeah.
Is that something you've always done, even prior to moving here, always thinking about if what you're doing is fulfilling enough?
It wasn't conscious before.
Okay.
Before it used to be more like I'm doing something, but I reflect. I always think about, I'm very in touch with how it feels.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but I've also always been able to decide if I'm not happy in something, I just stop it and I will change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a very important context, especially for the conversation we're going to be having. Because I think that's something which, when I talk to a lot of people, there is some level of disconnection there, where, because I can speak for Cameroon, we grew up in this environment where you're told what to do and you have to toe the line.
Yes.
You're never really in tune with what you like doing, what feels good, because that's never an option.
Yeah.
You don't have the luxury of that. You need to feed the family, you need to make sure you get stability, and you're going to do anything that needs to be done for that.
Yes.
And then you get in that flow, and then when you find yourself in Europe where you can actually, people expect you to know what you want, otherwise the society is going to tell you what you want. Because you've not practiced doing that for yourself for such a long time, it's difficult to just get in that role or like start practicing that all of a sudden. You have to really unlearn a lot of things and then start learning new things, right? So I think for the context of the conversation, it's really important that you maybe already had a predisposition to feel stuff. So you knew, okay, this is what I'm perceiving, this is what I'm feeling, this feels good, this does not feel good.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. So after that, what did you start working as?
Well, I actually applied for my first job it was called Dance for Life. It's still there. And it was young people empowerment in HIV prevention.
Okay.
But I really loved it because it was young people in different countries.
Okay.
And we do projects together, and once a year we would have a huge international project or event, and all the countries would be literally doing something together but on screens. So it was very, very nice and empowering. But the organization was pretty new. There were a lot of things which were not really structured yet, so that was a bit not okay. So I applied for another job.
Because you worked because now you don't do the work which you started doing. No. So now you are a career coach, which we're going to go into.
Yes.
Is that the main thing you do now?
Yes.
So what happened? Like, how did you navigate your way from starting those jobs, applying in different companies, wanting those different roles, to deciding, okay, I want to be a career coach? Because that's not necessarily a natural extension of what you did, right?
No, it's really, what I know now about myself is, for me, it's really important that when I work, I like to work in a structured manner. I like to see real results. I'm also somebody who, I really believe that there's no one size fits all. Human beings are very different. Their circumstances are very different. The situations they are dealing with are very different. So it's individuals, but also things like teams, organizations. And I believe it's very, very important when you work with people that you make space for that a difference.
Nuance.
For their own, the nuance, for their own circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is when I was in employment, because I worked for that organization and then another one and another one, but it was like we had these like annual plans and budgets, and we had written the program plan, and it's at a certain point it felt a bit like we were ticking boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see, because we were working with a lot of migrants, for instance, the policies that were being made were not really fitting for their situations. But it was like, we did the trainings, so we did 10 trainings, so the work is done. But if you are an organization and you've promised that you're going to help people, change people's lives, then you cannot really work with ticking boxes. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. It's very difficult work.
Yeah.
But of course, I also understand the context, because you got funding from the government or whatever, and you promise this is what you're going to do in a year's time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much easier to show, we did 10 trainings, but what did the trainings actually do?
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, I really found myself struggling with this mismatch.
Okay.
Because what we were doing was actually very important for people's quality of life. It's not like planting something or, it's real human life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then the work you were doing did not make that much. It began feeling like it was not achieving the goal which you hoped it would be achieving in terms of really helping people.
No. Yeah. It wasn't working.
Yeah. And how did you navigate then getting to career coaching? Like, how did you even think of that as an option?
Okay, a few things I think are important, because I'm now 47, so I really understand myself quite well. I know myself, and I've noticed that for me it's very, very important. I think it's actually not negotiable. Like, if I've promised to do something for a person, it's very important that I do my best for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed when I was in employment in this organization, I had a very good salary, but it was because I couldn't do really the work for the people, I could just not live with it. I couldn't live with myself. It's like I would wake up in the morning and think, why am I even jumping on my bike to go to the office? And I can't do what I promised to do.
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I remember when I finally decided to leave, I didn't even have another job, or I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna set up for myself, and I'm going to do the work, freedom. Actually, what I was craving at that point was the space to do my work the way I feel it should be done with people,
right,
without having to ask for permission from the boss. Mm-hmm. From the organization, and here these are the budget limitations, or this is the report we have to give back to show we achieve these goals.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was actually really looking for that space, and at that point I had never thought about being an entrepreneur. I've also been raised to go into employment,
right.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure you understand. I didn't even think about it as entrepreneurship. I was just feeling this. I had seen so much stuff because living all these years in the Netherlands, having studied here, I could speak Dutch after 2 months, so I've always spoken, and I could always speak with everybody, always worked in Dutch settings.
How long did it take you to learn Dutch?
2 months.
2 months?
Yes.
To what level?
It went very fast.
To what level?
Well, I ended up doing the S2E4 exam,
mm-hmm.
which was after, 6 months, but in 2 months I could speak.
In 2 months you could speak?
Yeah.
And S2E4 B2?
Was it B2? I don't even remember what it was. But I had to do 4 exams.
Okay.
Talking, listening, writing, and
speaking.
And speaking.
No, that's talking.
No, speaking,
listening,
reading,
yes,
listening, and you've done it.
Writing.
And writing. Or, yeah. I just sat down.
Yeah.
But when I came from Kenya, I could speak German.
How come?
I had learned it at university, at the high school.
Okay.
Because there was a German teacher, and I thought it was interesting. He looked like Michael Bolton, and I was mad about Michael Bolton. So I was like, Michael Bolton. There was even no option.
As long as you got, the results,
Yeah, and I was always raising my hand and just trying, and I was also fluent. I was doing, I was representing my school at like national competitions with poetry, German poetry and stuff.
Okay,
and so when I came, so I knew with languages, you have to go to a good school, and you must make time for it, and you must practice.
Practice, right.
So I just go on the street and practice.
You basically summarized what learning languages,
Yeah. But it's something, because I know with my coaches also I have a lot of people that, should I learn Dutch or not? And then they're doing Duolingo, and then they don't want to pay for it. And if you don't take it seriously, it takes forever.
Yes.
It will never happen. But
interesting. Yeah, because I think the career coaching is really something which I find particularly very interesting. Because I've never, like you said, back home, I think if you go to one of the very fancy international schools in Cameroon, you can probably get some level of career coaching. Because even here at the university, they're available. There are services that are available, just people don't use them, right? People don't necessarily make the time. Yeah, exactly. In most universities here, you have a career council or whatever version of it you would have, but just people don't know about it, so they don't use it. So then with the career coaching you do, can you give us more insight into like what exactly that is, and what a typical client you work with looks like?
Yes. I would like first to tell you why I choose career coaching. Because in coaching, there are so many directions you can take. You can do career coaching, burnout coaching, life coaching, sleep coaching, all kinds of coaching, right? But I specifically chose for career coaching, and it's because I believe that when your job is so important for everything else, for the rest of your life.
Right.
So if you have a job, if you are earning enough money, it also has an effect on your family. Can you go on holidays? What schools can they go to maybe? Or what kind of food can you buy? Clothes? Can you pay for your house, your bills? It's such a major part of life that I think once you have that part right, then the rest kind of is easier to fall into space.
Yeah.
So I consciously chose for career coaching, and then for the group that I call professionals who are from elsewhere or who are seen as such. So I have coaches from everywhere, also Dutch people. But this group is a name I thought of because people have so many labels. So there's expats, internationals, professionals with a migration background, highly skilled migrants. And when you're talking to your clients, you have to think of how to address them. And I just thought, how am I going to do this? So after, it's a lot of work, thinking, I thought these are professionals who are from elsewhere or who are seen as such. And I chose this because also how people look at themselves differs from how they are looked at by others.
Right.
So maybe you think you're an expert. I don't know what you see yourself as. What do you define yourself as?
I think if I was to classify myself as one of those labels, I don't feel like an expat. Because I didn't come here for work, so I don't feel like a typical expat. I do speak the language. I've integrated really nicely, so then I just feel like a Dutch person.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to professional, I'm just a Dutch employee.
Yes.
I don't see myself as an international migrant. I mean, factually, I am a migrant. I immigrated to the country, but I don't think I see myself as an immigrant, as an international. I just see myself as a Dutch professional, training the system, working in the system now. Exactly. It's an interesting question. I've never had the question before, but I don't see myself as a migrant. I don't see myself as an expat.
Exactly.
I can relate to the struggles of that. The person who is boxed into that, but I think personally the feeling I have on every day, if you ask me what I am, I don't know, I'm just a Dutch employee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But believe me, there are people who look at your colleague. If you ask them how they see you, they'll probably want like a migrant who come up, highly skilled, or I don't know what they call you. Yeah. So it's very important, I thought, to have a terminology that allows people and to fit in their own definition of themselves, but also how they are seen by other people.
Right.
And this came about because I've also had the struggle. I was like you. I always felt I'm just Dutch, you know. I mean, I did all my work in Dutch, to work with Dutch people, internationals, for all kinds of people. But at a certain point, I really came to realize and respect the fact that it's not always about how I see myself.
Yeah.
You know, it's also, and I cannot also force people to see me
the way you see yourself,
the way I see myself.
Yeah.
So it's really important to be aware that even though you see yourself in a certain way, someone else might see you differently. And that has also an effect on, let's say, how you work,
right?
How you're treated at work.
Yeah.
The opportunities that you get at work, the possibilities to grow in work. So it's very important to be aware of that, of the context. I always call it context matters. So all my work is, I always help people to be aware of their context, to be aware of these nuances and differences that could be present, that might be affecting actually like their success or their, ability to grow in work or to work happily, to feel fulfilled, to feel belonging. And it's also important in my work to help people to own that process, like belonging.
Yeah.
So somebody who is maybe white Dutch might say something or treat you in a way that you perceive as maybe closing you out or being discriminatory. But sometimes it's not that also. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
It's not.
So being aware of these emotions that might come up and your reactions to them, so they become a response instead of a reaction. How do you cope with that kind of thing? But also helping like the managers and team members to understand how maybe they look at people unconsciously sometimes.
Right.
So like you're saying, you feel you're Dutch, and you're not even aware of it. You've never thought about it. But maybe your boss who is white might be thinking, oh, but he's from Africa.
Right.
So I should put him to do this work. It's sometimes very unconscious.
Yeah.
But he maybe doesn't think to ask you what you really want, like everybody else. But he thinks you're from Africa, so maybe I should put you in Amsterdam South Coast because there are Africans there, or I don't know where the Africans in the head, unconsciously sometimes.
That is true.
Yeah. But if you're not aware of this dynamic, then you'll not be able to tell him, hey, but Hans, actually, I would like to work in Vasana, or I don't know, some other place.
Yeah.
Because you're not aware of the dynamic. So that's a very important part of the work that I do.
Yeah, interesting. Now you said it, it actually got me thinking, because I do think, because I speak Dutch, because of my program, medical program, I had to speak the language a lot. And that led to me having a certain level of fluency, which is, I guess, from the response I've gotten from people, not typical for someone who has stayed in the country as long as I have, right? Maybe because they expose people who have stayed here longer and do not speak the language as fluently. So there is a tendency for people to not assume that I'm not from here, as in not born here. Of course, in Europe, we don't have black Europeans, so you came from somewhere. So then, but they don't assume you were not born here from the way they hear me speak. So I have to tell them I was not born here, because along the way in the conversation, you start realizing, oh, he does not do ski, he does not do all these things that typical people who are born here do. So then I have to give them context. I was born in Cameroon and I grew up there. So I always have to, I don't know, I feel a personal sense of responsibility to, not responsibility, but I like mentioning it in the beginning. So you know this is the context of me. You might not assume that based on what you're hearing, but know that this is who I am. So I feel like, I don't know if I'm subconsciously then planting in the biases, because a lot of people tell me they would never have assumed that I was not born here based on the way they hear me speak. So I don't know if that makes my circumstance a little different, because a lot of my colleagues at work who just hear me on the phone, because I work now from home more or less, a lot of my colleagues who hear me talk, we met at Christmas parties, and that's the first time they got to know, okay, Hillman is not from here, because I had to tell them. But based on the conversations we had on the phone, based on the emails and stuff like that, they just assumed, because I work in a fully Dutch context. So maybe that's, it just got me thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder what people actually perceive, if they really see me or they hear me talk and they're like, you did not grow up here. Or if they actually have a different reaction. It's something which I'm curious about. You got me thinking about that now. Yeah.
It's important to be aware of those dynamics, but it's also, the most important part of my work is trying to let people know that it's so important to take leadership of your own life. And you can do it. But to be able to do that, it's very important to be really aware of your context. Don't just assume, oh, I'm just a human being. No. And this, in this country, like in many Western countries, everything is boxed in. There has to be a label on for people to understand others, they always put labels. I don't know how it was in Cameroon, but when I came to the Netherlands, that's when for the first time, I became black, for instance. You're a migrant, you're black, I don't know, whatever it was. But to be honest, those things actually came up later, not when I was studying. When I was studying, I was just one of the students. And also because, I was fluent in Dutch, I just joined them. So it was very interesting. I don't remember us ever really of that, having that feeling of you're different, of you're really from somewhere else in a weird energy, you know. It was later when I went to work. That's when you really see the boundaries being, I don't know, it's a very weird dynamic that takes place. The projects you're being put on, the discussions you suddenly start having with your bosses, because I always had white bosses anyway, but like when you try to discuss, like I was working with all these migrant groups, and then you're looking with the lens of, you can see the situation, you understand it, you're trying to explain it to the white bosses, and there's just no connection.
No communication. Right.
So you start wondering what's going on. We are here in this organization to reach certain goals, which we've agreed together with each other. But to do it, then why isn't this gap being closed? So you start wondering what's going on. And later is when you really start, it's the boxes and the labels, and these people are like these assumptions, and you know, I know them, you know, I know you, so I don't even need to really have a conversation to be curious and interested.
Interesting.
You know, the migrants are like that, or the Africans are like this. So.
And I feel like people don't always say it, because of course a lot of things are like sensitive and you can get cancelled for things you say. But I remember one time I had this supervisor in Maastricht who would just call African kids the N-word, and that's just his normal vocabulary. That's the normal vocabulary in that village in the Netherlands, right? Which for them is like the Dutch N-word. And for them it's just a normal vocabulary. Like, you know, there's some parts of the Netherlands where people are really living 9 years in the past. And it's so interesting to just be exposed to that and see the way of thinking. And for them, I think if they were to comment in a space where maybe it's not typical, I don't know if they have the awareness, but they might be more reluctant to use it, but it's not like they believe that is wrong. It's just, okay, maybe if I say this, I'm getting cancelled, and just to be careful. But anyways, what would a typical coachee, someone who comes to you for coaching, what's a typical profile? Can you paint a picture of people who need your services?
So I have different coaches. Some examples which might be interesting for you is to share is you have somebody who is actually already very experienced in their country of origin.
Okay.
They come to the Netherlands with this very heavy fat CV, qualifications in those positions. But when they are here, they cannot find a job.
Okay.
And what we look at is what is going on. And usually what you will see is it could be different things or several things to come together. So one is, sometimes if the job you are doing in your country is very location specific, like if you're doing law or medicine, maybe you cannot just copy paste here. It's not plug and play.
Yeah, I think law more than medicine.
Okay, I'm not technical, but there are those things which are like, but I think even medicine, anyway. But
the license, medicine is the license. So the license is the problem, because you cannot just transfer your license.
Exactly, so that's what I mean.
But the medical practice, it's more, if you have a good training, it should be generalizable. So the way you treat people here, of course, you have more black patients, so you're more familiar with dermatological conditions in African patients than white patients. But the internal organs should be fine. But with law, it's you're working under Cameroon law, and now you have to come and learn Dutch law. And it's like you cannot just bring Cameroon law here because it's a completely different thing.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I mean with you. It's not plug and play.
Yes.
So when people come here, sometimes they don't understand that, and they think, "But I was a doctor or I was a lawyer, and why can't I find a job?" So then we'll look at, okay, what is going on? What are you missing? What are the gaps? But also building a new professional network, because you need that. How to go about things like applying for jobs. You know, how does your CV look like, or what do you really need to mention, or you know, to emphasize the kind of network you need to develop here. You know, additional, or how you can use maybe a network you already had. You know, those are very important context-specific things that I coach on.
Okay.
That we'll discuss. So that's one. Some is like people who have a migration background. So they are Dutch like you or me, or you've lived here for years. Some are even born here. They have a very good job, but they're maybe the only black person in the team or in the organization, or they're having struggles with management, and they have suspicions of it's racism or they're being treated differently. But they cannot really have that conversation, because if you talk to the same boss, you of course it's not racism.
Yeah.
It's very sensitive. So to create a safe space where people can really share their feelings, also their pain, and then we can find out a strategy on how to go about it.
Yeah.
So that's also another thing. I also have coaches who just graduated and are thinking about what's my job.
Yeah.
I have coaches who are mid-career professionals and are thinking about the next step,
So making a switch.
It's making a switch. So they experience, they've been in the Netherlands forever, they will. I have coaches who are, let's say in Kenya or wherever, and they're thinking of moving here. I help people also with mapping their skills. That's actually a very important part of my work. So to see which like hard skills do you have, which soft skills do you have, which like location transferable skills do you have. So what can you plug and play, but what do you need to maybe add? It really depends on a lot of questions.
Right. Can you help me just to get a better understanding of, because I think I understand what it is, partly because I'm also a coach, but can you just help paint a picture of, let's do this, one of the clients that has stood out to you the most in terms of either because of the transformational journey they went through or because of how outstanding their profile or their struggle was. Just can you paint a picture of one of the clients that when you think of, oh, this is a client I'm just not going to forget easily. What was that situation like?
I actually have 2 examples.
Okay.
I would like to share. No, because it's actually it's a good question. 2 examples, and it's because of the difference of what happened. So the first one I would like to share is a man. He's Kenyan, lives in an Eastern European country. He's a surgeon.
Okay.
So he's already experienced, qualified, everything.
Trained in Eastern Europe?
Yes.
Okay.
He comes to the Netherlands on holidays, and he's like, oh my goodness, I love this place. I want to see if I can move here.
Okay.
So we start a trajectory, because he asked me to help him to think about if he comes here, where can he get a job, salary, what does it look like? Like, how could that move look like? And one of the things I did was he sent me his CV as well, and I thought it's very important for him to talk to an African doctor who works here, because working here as an African doctor or a white Dutch doctor should be very different. There must be differences in that experience in real life. And so I started looking for black doctors, and it was very difficult to find somebody, surprisingly. I was like, what? And finally I found somebody. I connected them.
Who did you find, if I may ask?
Okay. We should not name names because we've not asked.
Right, fair enough.
But also we discovered that if he was to come here, he could not also plug him. So he had to learn Dutch first to be able to work. He had to do some exams again. And also, apparently in the Netherlands, as a surgeon, you can't just be employed by a hospital. Some clinics do it, but he had to become part of like
maatschap.
Like a maatschap.
Like a private practice.
It's like a private practice, and then
like everyone owns their own company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was really surprised about this. But of course that means the poor man has no network here.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to break that. So anyway, when we were starting here, he was like, okay, my option is I want to come to the Netherlands, but maybe go or England or something, because they are, I don't know, he knew somebody there who was working. So after the whole coaching trajectory, the conclusion was the Netherlands is not an option. He said, I don't want to start learning Dutch again, because I saw the other people from the country where he lives, they would read a book in a week. He needs several weeks to read it because it's in that language. He had to learn the language there. study in that language, do the work. Now he has to kind of start again. And now you wonder, is that a good outcome for our coaching? I think so, because it saved him a lot of problems.
Right.
If he had just packed his suitcase and moved here, what would have happened? And you arrive here and you see, oh. So it was a very important trajectory for him to avoid a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The other case study I would like to share is Kuchi is from an African country. His wife works here for a Dutch company. So he's a accompanying partner, they are called.
Okay. Yeah.
Very qualified, very senior in his country. He's come here trying to kind of connect in the career, So he actually had already coaching services paid for by his wife's company for a year.
Oh, okay.
He's done the whole coaching thing. But he said, but the coach, it's a white woman, he was like, but she doesn't understand, like, my situation is different. She's very enthusiastic. She's too enthusiastic over my chances. I want somebody who is realistic, because he's written hundreds of letters despite all these qualifications. But it's not just writing letters in the Netherlands. You need to create some connection, call people before you send your letter, what does your LinkedIn look like, things like that. So he was actually looking for a coach who is qualified, but who also has the migration experience and understands how things work here. So there's a session I do, it's like a personalized career strategy. And the idea is to think things through before you start applying for a job. So it's like really thinking about, what do I really want and why do I want it? What can I do? What do I want to do? What do I choose to do? I am here today and I want to have a job by this and this time, like concrete. And which are the milestones? What actions do I need to take before I get there? But also, like, which actions are really impactful, are really important. So, like, which are the priorities, which are actually things I'm thinking about, which are not necessary, which I don't need to think about. So we do also the circle of influence, so you know where to focus your energy, your time, your resources. So you have a very clear pathway which you can follow. Yeah.
If we look at, just for example, if you take a sample size of the average, or if you look at a bunch of your clients whom you've coached from African countries, what is one thing that you could identify as something that they predominantly struggle a lot with? Like, is it in the networking? Is it in the understanding of what you like doing? Is it in the understanding of, like, what is one thing where you're like, I feel like people just from experience struggle a lot with this aspect?
I think it's two things.
Okay.
One thing is really knowing what you want and why you want it, like really consciously making a choice. So you'll see people just kind of, they start up, first they're very enthusiastic, they start applying for jobs, but they'll just try. And it's because when you're rejected, then you try again and you try again, and then suddenly at a certain point you're like, I'll just apply now. You stop actually trying to go for the things you really want. So that part, knowing really what you want, why you want it, and having that plan ahead of time. And the other thing which makes a huge difference is being aware of your context awareness. So even in my coaching, I always start with I call it like cultural and intercultural awareness session.
Right.
We will actually go through different frameworks. I have developed them, and we will go through them. So you are aware. I don't know if you know about the diversity iceberg, and this in Dutch we call it onderstroom, bovenstrom. So what is going on, the invisible part of you, of things that are going on, but also in the
Oh yes. I see the depiction with the little part of the iceberg on top, and then you have the big thing underwater.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've seen a depiction of that before. I don't fully understand what it means, but I think I understand what you're talking about.
It's very, very powerful and very, very important. So I've made a whole network. I call it the Hilma model.
Hilma.
Hilma. Hilma.
I was like, wow, there's a model for me.
No, it's the holistic intercultural leadership mastery approach.
Okay, Hilma.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So looking really at yourself as a person, which are the parts in you that are really important that you need to pay attention to, but also you're in an intercultural setting, and in a the cultural sensitivity. So who you are here is not who you are there.
Yeah.
And really taking leadership of your process. So those two things, not really being clear about your goals and how you're going to get there, and not being aware of the context.
That you find
context sensitivity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's such a great way to summarize it, because I feel like that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast. Because I think the two things you just mentioned, amongst other things, is something which, because of my own very small coaching practice that I'm developing, because of the content I'm making, the videos I'm making and stuff like that, people are reaching out to me, right? The example you had about the surgeon, I literally thought that's one of my clients. Like, that's one of the people I've spoken to who wants to move and stuff like that, but then realize, okay, maybe it's not what I thought. It's not as easy as I thought it was. It's not like just moving to the UK and having the language set, because you need to learn the language, right?
Yeah.
Or people who just move here and they're like, I don't know what to do with my life. Like I literally had a coaching session with someone 2 months ago, and she called and she was just crying on the phone because they're so stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't have the tools. I don't know how. And then I keep starting stuff and I don't finish. And then it's a lot of things which really play a big role in just getting people stuck, whether it's in their careers, which ultimately affect their personal lives as well, where I really feel there's a need for increased guidance.
Yes.
Just either via mentorship, which I'm also trying to maybe do more of, and like bring people on the podcast who can act as, even from a distance, mentors to other people by what they're doing. Because sometimes if you move to a new country, right, it's your circle, your bubble influences the way you view the new society. Yeah. They shape the scope of possibilities you see.
Yes.
So if you just come to a place where they're like everyone is working in a factory, that's what you're gonna see as the way to go as well. Where just being exposed to people who came like you and who are doing things differently can also trigger you to think about the different possibilities, right? Yeah. And I feel like with what you do with just career coaching, which I feel like I also needed at some point in time, I feel like a lot of people really need that, because even at church, I talk to people who have been, big consultants in their countries, and then they move here and they're like, oh yeah, people tell me it should be fine here because I was big there. And it could be because they have the skills and they're good at what they do. But if you don't have the awareness and the skills to navigate the nuance of life here, then you find yourself being compromised without understanding why you're compromised. And I feel like sometimes just sitting down with someone who can tell you, okay, what are we dealing with?
Yes.
Let's see what belongs where and how we can fit these things together.
Exactly.
I feel like people need to know that this service exists. People need to know that there is a lot more than just applying for jobs and getting rejected. Like if you can improve a lot by understanding where you are and trying to see what could be changed and what could be improved.
Exactly.
There is a lot. There's a lot there, and I feel
believe me, even I would have been very much helped. Because when I came here, I had zero problems with studying. I never failed exams. I remember I'm doing everything in Dutch. I was just going. Everything went so well. But I totally missed that somebody who could guide me. Right. So when I started facing these problems at work, I had no reference point. And all my friends were Dutch, so they never experienced the same struggle. They also everybody experiences struggles at work, but definitely there's an extra layer of struggles that only you experience if you come from another country, another culture. But also that you have to deal with it every single day, and also your management, your leadership at work, who might not come from your own culture, are also struggling with that layer. Yeah. But usually people are very unaware of it. Yeah. But if you actually became conscious of it, then you could deal with it. But because there's no consciousness of it, awareness of it, it causes a lot of unnecessary problems.
Of unnecessary things. And I think for me, for example, just that's what I've been going through the last years, right? Like, okay, we do medicine and I do like helping people. So I think I made a conscious decision to go study medicine. But then you realize along the way, oh, there's more things I like doing. There's more things that actually give me more energy than the hospital. There's more things which I think I could serve people better in that capacity than in the medical capacity. Where these things you start confronting. And I think I had friends around me, I had mentors with whom I could talk about these things with, right? Yeah. So I was blessed with regards to that, where I did not have to figure this all out by myself in my head, because that can be very compromising. But it also, a lot of people have these things, but then they don't dare take that step because they don't even know how to navigate that, Yes. Like, why would I leave medicine with all the certainty that comes from that. Like you're a doctor.
Yeah.
A doctor.
Employment.
Why would you leave that and then go start navigating something that could be pretty much an uphill battle? But at the end of the day, I really believe that that's what's better for you and better for everyone. Because if you're functioning as you're supposed to be functioning authentically, you have a lot more to offer than if you're being dragged to work every day.
And in this context, in the Dutch context, you actually have the space to do that. If I was in Kenya and I have a job, I better think twice before I leave my job.
Right. Yes.
But in the Netherlands, seriously,
yes,
you can. If I want, I study sociology. I'm a certified trainer as well. I do also a lot of intercultural communication trainings, also with teams. So I did the trainings and I still do them. But this is a separate certification. And later, I did a whole diploma, 9 months, for coaching.
Right.
So I'm now a career coach, accredited. I did So in the net, you can move.
Yeah.
You can change, you can move, you can grow. You have all the space and opportunity to also discover yourself. And also, as we finish, what is so important people don't realize also is you change as you grow in life. So who you were in your 20s is not who you are in your 30s or in your 40s. Who you are before you had a family is not who you are when you have kids, if you're married or if you're mid-career professional or just starting out. So people kind of have this thing that they try to remain with the same priorities. They don't reflect and grow with
allow themselves change
as the seasons in life change. So it's very important to really actually sit down sometimes. It's like an APK, what do you call it in English? The car checkup.
Yeah, the yearly car checkup.
The annual car checkup.
I was about to be like a curling, but a curling is not English.
No,
it's not English.
So sit down and think who I am now at this age with this the experience I have. Am I happy with that? With the work I'm still doing? Is it still giving me fulfillment? Do I want maybe to change? What is actually now giving me energy, fulfillment? Should I do new courses? Is it time to move forward? Actually, take time, sit down, and rethink yourself as a professional. So important.
It's really important, and I think one thing which I also hope to do more in the future is just hopefully, because I think the people who you see, people who are maybe people I was exposed to online, because you kind of like you don't necessarily always want to strive for something if you cannot see the representation of that thing. Right. Where I feel like the lack of representation of people who are authentically walking out their own callings and paths in life, and who are thriving in that economically too, because we cannot ignore the fact that if you don't see someone who is doing what they like doing and are doing well financially, like people are not going to want to do that if they don't think that's a financially liable way to go as well. Where if someone is becoming a doctor and that's guaranteed to give them money, let me go do that. I might be dying in there, but that's the one I know for sure is going to give you money, as opposed to trying something which I don't see representation of, with the hopes that it's going to be a good and viable option. Where if we had more representation of people who are just doing their thing, navigating their own unique paths and doing well financially as well, I feel like that could go a long way to just let people know that, okay, listen, hey, it's possible. Because I just started doing content creation, right? For sure, it's not a stable thing. You're not guaranteed a monthly paycheck.
No.
But there's months where you're paid way more than you could ever be paid as a doctor.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
But these are things which if you don't share your story, because a lot of us Africans as well in the diaspora are hiding in our own corners. A lot of people are doing great stuff, I realize, but they're just hiding. Like not hiding consciously, but they're not seen.
They're invisible.
They're invisible. They're not out there. I'm like, we need to be out there so people can see. And it's not like you have to go put yourself out there just to show off. But I feel like there is an added value in sharing your story so others can see that, okay, it's possible to do your thing and also successfully, make it in life. And you don't have to always toe a certain line or fit in a certain box to be able to be successful.
Exactly.
You can be successful by your own definitions. Yeah. What is a piece of advice you would give to an African who just moved abroad and is struggling to figure out what to do and find their path? What is something they could do on a personal... Of course, they need a coach, that's for sure. We all need a coach at some point in life. But what's something they could do on a personal level today to help move the needle in the right direction?
I think really sit down first and think what you want. There you can buy like vision books or you can use just a piece of paper. I help people with that myself, and the power that I have is I can help you to really dig deep into what you really want and why you want it. So really make choices where you 100% stand behind.
Right.
And also figure out your options. So you say like, okay, this is what I really, really want, and I'm going to try and get it in 3 months' time. But if in 2 months' time I see there's no like real opportunity coming up, possibility, then I have option B, I have option C. I can start looking at point A, point B.
Right.
But if you really want to work by yourself, really sit down, find some worksheets, or I don't know, I think you can even ask ChatGPT to help, but really figure out, write out, you draw the arrow. I am here now, and this is what I want. And I want that to be there by that and that time. So what am I going to make choices like this is what I'm going to go for.
Yeah.
But also what is feasible, because you can want something, but in reality it's not feasible.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a doctor and you have to speak Dutch in at a professional medical level, you're maybe already 45. Is that feasible? But within your skill set, there you can map. So I have sheets I don't have them here, but you can actually map like all the skills you have and see within that skill set what might maybe be a more feasible path to follow. Things like that. Know your options. Be aware of your options.
That's a very good piece of advice, I think, and I can relate to that heavily, because I also feel like there's a lot of people, myself included when I just moved here, who just struggle with the whole sitting with yourself and thinking of what you want.
That's very difficult.
So definitely a lot of us need guidance. And I had this, what you just said, maybe that's also my coaching brain, but I had the same exercise with a close friend last year.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the transition, I was thinking about the dilemmas, okay, what do I want to do? What is really going to be what is going to be a career path which fully maximizes my skill sets?
Yeah, but that also
abilities.
gives you also fulfillment.
Right, exactly. Yes. That gives you fulfillment, because for me that's a big one.
Yeah, that's very important.
And I know that there's not one thing, but I know that the things which I like doing are going to fit together at some point as like a piece of a puzzle.
Yes.
But we literally had to sit down, write down my skill set, what I'm good at, because they know me well, right? So they can really say, I think you think you're good at that, but maybe it does not come across as you being good at that from what I experienced.
Yeah.
So we had to sit down and like actually have a session where we wrote down the skill set.
Yes.
And we came up with 4 things I could do.
Yeah.
Podcasting being one of them. Where if you find yourself doing these 4 things, you're objectively fully utilizing your skills.
Yeah.
This was with a friend.
Yes.
This was not with a paid coach. This was with someone who knows me, who is invested in my growth almost as much as I am invested in my growth as well. And I feel like a coach is great, you need that, but sometimes you could also just find someone around you. You could find an accountability system or a friend who really just wants to see you thrive, who can sit down with you and help you make sense of what is happening, because we need help. By myself, I couldn't have made that list.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah. So I think
but also be careful that if you're doing it with a friend or a neighbor or whatever, that it's somebody, how do I put this? Sometimes if it's your family, friends, they also have assumptions about you.
Right.
And also some have their own limiting thoughts. Maybe they also tried things and they're like, hey, bana.
And they project.
Yes. So be aware of that.
Yeah.
But it is our cheap way and easy way to do it. But the important thing is that you actually sit down. And also what is really important about this exercise is like you said, you had 4 things, right? So maybe if you're just thinking about yourself, I could do it, I could do that, I could do that. Maybe it's 10 things. But now you've chosen the 4. So all your thoughts, everything you look at, options, will always be based on those 4. It focuses
it really simplifies things. It really is like, okay, I'm applying for this job. Does this job, and if it does not, why do I have enough reason to deviate from the 4 things? It really focuses my thinking, and I feel like I needed that, especially with the so many options that I have.
Yeah, exactly.
Because studying here and having that degree is like everybody wants you to work for them. Everybody wants a doctor to do something for them. But then you're like, okay, but this does not fit well into my framework. As a result of which I'm not going to be able to serve as best as I can. So for both of us, it's not beneficial each other. Like
exactly.
And I feel like that really did help me focus. But Elizabeth, thank you very much for your time. It was a great conversation. I think there's definitely going to be someone out there who needs to hear this, because I definitely know that I needed this at a certain stage in life.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to help a lot of people out there. And definitely this is not going to be the last session, because there's definitely a lot more things we can talk about. There's definitely a lot more topics we can sit down and hopefully just make more sense of.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for being here. I don't know, where can they find you, your coaching session? If someone wants to book a coaching session, where can they find you?
Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, Elizabeth Njeru, and then DRS for Dr. Anders, EMCC NOPCO accredited coach. You can find me. And I have a website, globalcareersupport.com. globalcareersupport.com. Yeah.
All the information is going to be in the description below, so you can definitely find her if you need her services. And I would definitely recommend that as well, especially for my people in the Netherlands. But I don't think it's only limited to people in the Netherlands.
Right? No. I have coaches everywhere, because I do a lot of work online as well.
Yeah.
And in English and in Dutch.
So that's a good point to mention too, in English and in Dutch. So if you need her services, you know where to find her. But once again, thank you for being here.
You too. Thank you so much. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for having me.